Yo, what is up, guys? It's Hayden, aka Fatal here, and today I'm bringing you a quick video just kind of sharing what helped me become a lot more competitive on PC using a controller. You're obviously at a huge disadvantage, so anything and everything that you can get, you take. You gotta learn how to play different than a keyboard and mouse, but try to mirror it. It's confusing, but we'll get into it. I'm gonna show you a few things that helped me out, and yeah. First thing. Alright guys, so the first tip is choosing your controller. It's very important in the controller you use. You already be at a disadvantage, so you need to get at least a good controller. By that I mean Scuf or like a Beaver, something that puts you ahead. Make sure it has paddles or buttons on the back. I personally use a Scuf Infinity 4PS Pro. Now it was around $200, and I think Beaver runs about the same price. But the important thing is getting the extra edge with the buttons on the back. If you do want to go for a more budget-friendly option and not spend $200, I have heard of people using a Strike Pack. It's basically a little adapter that goes onto your regular DualShock 4 controller, and you can turn the back up into paddles, but I can't personally vouch for how that works, so I recommend going with the Scuf. The main purpose in getting a custom controller like this with paddles on the back is the ability to jump and crouch while keeping your finger on the analog. It allows you to aim while crouching or sliding. It really helps out a lot in first-person shooters, so if you're playing games like Apex, it's a really big thing. The second thing I recommend you get as far as your controller is something on the right analog stick. Something that extends it up and makes it taller. Kontrol Freeks are what I used to use before I had a Scuf. Now when you customize it now, you can put custom Scuf extensions on there, but if you don't have that, you can go with Kontrol Freeks. They do the same purpose. They improve accuracy a ton. Having the extended analog stick really helps with accuracy. It allows you to move a lot finer. A lot of the pros use them. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting serious with your controller. To put this kind of into perspective, some of the guys you'll be playing against on PC will have already spent $500 on their mouse and keyboard. So you're really not even getting close to that. Alright, so the second tip I want to give you guys is kind of controlling and compensating for a recoil. Every gun has different recoil, and I actually learned this tip from another YouTuber named Speros. If you haven't heard of him, he's a beast on the controller. He plays mostly Blackout, but I'll link his channel down in the description, and you guys can go check it out. He can actually explain this portion of the video in more depth. But anyways, so this is kind of a rundown. So basically there are two types of recoil. They're vertical, and then there's left and right. So controlling vertical recoil, the best way to control vertical recoil like this. So you see how the gun recoils straight up vertically. Okay, so the best way to control vertical recoil is to pull down a little bit on the analog stick. So when you shoot, you want to pull down a little bit. Now, I'm not very good at it yet, but Speros is a lot better at it than me, so if you want to see a perfect recoil control, then go watch this video. So, as you see, I pull down the analog stick, and I stay a lot closer on target. Now, the other type of recoil is left and right recoil, which you'll need to compensate for. So, left and right recoil looks more like this. So, it's going to go up, you're going to have some vertical recoil, and then you're going to have to, you're going to also notice it going left. So now notice how it goes left a little bit. So in order to compensate for that, you also need to control for the vertical. So because it's not just going straight across left or right, it's also going vertical. So on top of pulling down to control the vertical recoil, we also want to pull to the right. And again, Speros is a lot better at this than me. So I'm basically just giving you a rundown of what you need to do. The last thing I want to touch on in the recoil tip of this video is long shots. So long shots, it's important not to basically spray and pray on a long shot. What you want to do on a long shot is basically tap fire. Now, I know this may not be new to a lot of you, but it's important. So tap firing makes sure that you do hit your target just about every time you shoot, and that's the best way to hit a long shot. So the third tip I want to give you is sensitivity. Now, sensitivity is very important. I personally keep my sensitivity on 5 and 3, but Apex doesn't require a very high sensitivity like a lot of other games do. Take Fortnite, for example. In Fortnite, you have to build and have a lot of quick movements in order to be good. In Apex, it's all about accuracy and being able to hit your shots. Now, the sensitivity here, I go very high. Now, when I started the game, I started on 3 and 3, which is the default, I believe. Yes. So 3 is the default. I started on default just like I do every other game. Every single game that I play, I start on the default sensitivity and adjust accordingly. So with this game, this is where I found worked for me, and you'll have to do the same for yourself. If you haven't played first-person shooters as much, then you probably want to stick to a lower sensitivity. Like I said, Apex doesn't require a high sensitivity, so having a lower sensitivity is not bad. Now, for those of you who don't know, the sensitivity ADS is aim down sight sensitivity. So this doesn't need to be high at all. A lot of people like a lower sensitivity because they're more of a long-range sniper shooter. You don't want to have a high sensitivity kicking back and forth. And then a lot of people prefer a higher aim down sight sensitivity because they're more quick and light hip fire. So it's really just, whatever kind of play style you have, and mess around with it, practice with it, and find out what works best for you. Okay, so the fourth and fifth tips are basically, I don't know if I call them tips, but they're just settings that I recommend you make sure you have checked. So the first one is, especially if you're using a default DualShock controller or really any controller, I recommend going with the button puncher, and there's a reason. The button puncher changes your crouch and melee, so basically it reverses them. So your melee becomes your circle and your crouch becomes your R3. This is on a PlayStation controller, obviously. But what this allows you to do, especially if you don't have buttons or paddles on the back, is it allows you to crouch or slide without ever having to take your finger off of the analog stick. So that is extremely helpful in gunfights. Now the rest of these, you could change them to that if you see it fits you better, but I recommend the button puncher. And the fifth and final tip is actually going to seem very, very small, but it is actually huge. Is your interact reload button. I do see a lot of people have hold to use and tap to reload. I do recommend strongly that you change to tap, because the second that it takes you to pick up a weapon or to reload could be the difference in you winning a gunfight or not. So I really do think that is a huge setting to make sure that you have changed. And that is it for the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comment section if you want to see more tips and tricks videos like this one. Everything that I mentioned will be linked in the description below. Make sure and give our social medias a follow, and yeah, thanks for watching.